Have you ever wished you could eavesdrop on a conversation with a millionaire? My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm a retired project controls engineer and business professor, and that's exactly what I'm going to do in this podcast. I get to ask the questions that everyone else wishes they could. I'm going to find out exactly how they were able to build their empires through automation and outsourcing. And I'm going to break it down in a way that helps you build your business to run on autopilot. Don't miss out on Automate to Dominate. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Automate to Dominate. Today, we have Pat Roque. She is our guest speaker, and she is a rockstar career transformational coach. She has an incredible amount of value to give us, and she's been everywhere. I mean, she's been featured as a career expert on, Good Morning America, Inc., Tribune, The Ladders. Good God, she's been on Oprah, Cosmopolitan. Got kick-ass clients like, everyday names like Konica Minolta, Bank of America. We're so honored to have you as a guest. So, Pat, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I love sharing stories and wisdom with cool people like yourself and making sure your audience gets a lot out of it. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah. So you have a super cool story about how you kind of went down this career path, and it started with a box of rocks. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, it actually started, my first company I founded 32 years ago, which sounds a little crazy because I feel like I must have been in diapers to do that. But I started as I was a PR agency hotshot as a young kid. I did a lot of cool internships, scammed my way into great jobs, and then had a car accident.
As all good New Jerseyans do, by the way.
Exactly, yes. So car accident on a sunny Thanksgiving Saturday, and was not feeling well enough to go back to an office desk job. And so my first entrepreneurial company was founded in 1988. And I was virtual before the digital part of virtual, right?
Wow. That's
so I was
cool.
basically a virtual VP of marketing. I said, no, thanks. I don't want to sit in a chair. I don't want to be there every day, but here's what we're going to accomplish. Here's how I'll stay accountable. I grew a virtual team, and then I would backfill a company's marketing department. So I would be your kind of virtual VP of marketing and either help your team be better at what they did or backfill with my remote team. So I had VAs and was a VA at a high level since before the digital part existed, which is kind of cool. So I did that for the first 20 years of my business. At age 40, I got my master's degree in organizational leadership. I did it online, so I became an e-learning expert, and my master's thesis was on the benefits of virtual teams, remote work, telework, work from home, because I had already lived 20 years of it and figured I could have never survived without it. And so that was spring before 9/11. So
Wow.
One step ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah,
so helping companies and hospitals and facilities and individuals figure out what to do with, displaced workers and remote teams when the world changed then. Fast forward, I spent that 10 years in corporate, and on right around my 50th birthday, got a dreaded phone call. I was making buckets of money doing digital, multi-million-dollar, multi-year digital sales, and got a phone call that it all went away, and we love you, no vacation, no severance, thank you, bye-bye.
Wow. That's a shot in the gut.
Oh my God, it was ugly. And I was 50, and I was in the middle of menopause, and I was a hormonal mess, and I snot cried for probably 2 straight years. It was
How many quarts of Ben and Jerry's? I just gotta know.
Oh, no, I was more like Tito's. Well, Tito's actually wasn't in then. Tito's is in now, but it wasn't then. So long story
What's Tito's? I don't know what Tito's is.
Vodka.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Duh. I was thinking ice cream.
No, I went for the good stuff. Anyway, So I had ultimate, rock star to rock bottom moment. I was a mess. I kept applying for the wrong jobs like I used to have, thinking that was what I was supposed to do, which was nonsense. And I kept sabotaging. I'd be the finalist or get the job and supposed to start Monday, and then decide it wasn't going to work. So it was really kind of this soul searching that I needed to do. And on my 50th birthday, my best friend watched me crumble and decided she was going to help. And my birthday was in March. She dug in the snow, got 50 rocks, painted them gold, and put 50 things that are special about me in a box that said 50 rocks, and so do you. Can you see that?
I
Those are some
can.
we
That's
say things like
amazing.
hardworking.
What a thoughtful friend. What an amazing friend.
I say to her, it would have been much cheaper and faster and easier if you bought me a sweater from Bloomingdale's, but okay. But they said
Right.
things like generous and funny and supportive and bitchy and weird. I mean, it was everything. It was my best friend. And I had been taking medication to feel better, and it gave me suicidal thoughts. And I literally one day said out loud, I should just throw myself off a bridge and no one would care.
Wow.
Imagine.
Wow. That's I've actually been in that exact spot. It was shortly after I had my stroke. It was about 6 months after I had my stroke, and I was like, I want to do this anymore. I don't want to. So,
Rock freaking
and
bottom.
yeah, and I'm assuming somebody was there for you at that time. I got lucky. I had some support systems, and of all things, my doctor called right as I was about to drive the car off the cliff, and she's like, "Well, just wait a week, and then if you still want to kill yourself in a week, you haven't lost anything." And I went, "Huh, okay, we'll try it." And in that week, we got me some help. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
But see what happens? People always think it's just me. It's just me, right? We go through our things in our lives and we feel like, oh, it's just me. I have to be the only one. And you're not the only one. And I'm not the only one either. But I did realize that I knew that wasn't right. And I knew that wasn't me. And I knew that I had gone from this quote unquote rock star life. Everybody's like, oh, look at her. She's in the magazine. She's here. She's there. Like I had the good life and they wanted to be me. And then I was sitting there feeling like I was drowning at the bottom of a well, trying to scratch and claw my way out of it, like my fingernails popping off. It was so bad and so ugly. And my best friend pulled this box of rocks out, came to my door. We went to dinner. She hands me this thing and says, hold it. And I'm like, what the hell is this, a box of rocks? It was literally like the ultimate Pinterest gift. And of course, I snot cried some more because I couldn't believe she did that. And so I started to blog and write one rock at a time. What do these rocks actually mean? So generous. It was about being a generous giver and an excellent receiver. Because how do you feel when you give, Michelle? Pretty good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Everybody loves to give. So much harder to take.
Right. So we're really uncomfortable asking for help.
Yeah.
But if no one asks for help, no one gets to be the giver. You have to do both. So I thought about that.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. I'm always like give, but if I don't give somebody else the opportunity to give, I'm actually robbing them a little bit. Wow.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that's a mind blow moment. Okay, continue. Sorry.
And having this podcast, you are both giving and receiving. So it's a really nice moment because it's a win. It's a win, and it's a win for your audience. So all ships rise with the tide. So that was giving. And supportive is about, for example, in my eyes, it's about reaching out and inserting yourself and not waiting for someone to ask. You need to be astute and pay attention and be a student of your people and know your people and be empathetic. So how do you insert yourself? Very carefully sometimes, right? Because that dance is dainty and dangerous at moments. And so how do you insert yourself? And what does confidence really mean? And how do you be assertive without looking like a bragging AH, right? How do you come forth and share with confidence and pride and instill that in other people and not look like an arrogant biatch? So every rock one at a time. And I started blogging, and I love LinkedIn. It's my favorite social media platform. And people started calling me and saying, oh, can you coach me? Can you come speak? And here's a moment. I went to a conference, a Lisa Sasevich conference. It was about speak to sale. It was about getting on stages and speaking without sounding salesy, because I felt this inner conflict of, well, if I speak too much, do I look too arrogant? Whatever. And I met these amazing people, and we had to do this exercise and write about branding. And we're talking, you and I, about branding in work that we're doing, right, together. So every day we're talking about it, and we're good at it. And I'm good at helping other people, and they're good at helping me. But when you're doing it for yourself, I sat with a pen on the piece of paper, having to write about some of my branding positioning stuff, and I started to tremble, and the blood ran out of my face, and the color ran out of my lips, and I just shook. And the woman next to me physically moved her chair away from me. I think she thought I was having an epileptic seizure or something. She didn't know what was going on, but she could physically witness this weird.
She's like, whatever it is, I need a way. This is some
And then
weird
you ever do
strand of the
those,
coronavirus.
and you ever do those exercises where the people have to work together? Oh, two people pair up. She literally went across the aisle. Instead of turning to me, went across the aisle to get away from me. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm a freak. Here we go. That night, these lovely ladies at this cocktail party are talking about how the day went. We were supposed to practice our introductions, which sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? But not when you're snot crying all over the paper going, oh, I don't know who I am. What am I? And they helped me think through it. And they're the ones that started calling me the Rockstar Career Transformation Coach. It's so crazy how these strangers gave me perspective. One night and a few cocktails, and there it was. And the next day, so here's a ninja trick. You ready? Whenever you go to a conference, whenever you're in a group like we are in our cohort now, you need to speak up and be heard and ask questions and answer questions. So I knew going into this conference with 500 people there that I was going to have a moment at the microphone. So I waited until day 2 because I wanted to have something to say, and I wanted to have something to test in front of the audience. And, so Lisa said, oh, how'd everybody do? Anybody have any aha moments? And I get up there in front of my 500 people, and I'm like, yes. I came here not knowing who I am, and I am Pat Roque, the Rockstar Career Transformation Coach. And the whole crowd stood up and started giving me high fives and applauding, and I started crying again. So I guess my point is sometimes it takes a village and it takes perspective. And this box of rocks, I think, literally changed and saved my life. And so from that day, the Rockstar Career Transformation Coach was born. And then I came back and kept working. And my program and system is called Rock on Success. So the planner, for example, is a 90-day fast action planner. Ready? Focus and freedom to live your best life without selling your soul or losing your mind.
Nice. And that's the dream. That's actually what this podcast is all about. It's so perfect lining.
Right. So there it is. And that's been my focus, and speaker, author, career coach, and expert on remote teams since, the master's thesis on 9/11 and all the background. So you and I were talking before we came on live, and you said, oh, are you pivoting? Because we're actually, going to be launching programs, and that's great. And I stayed up for 4 nights in a row in the last week because I kept thinking, I know that I can help these people with this whole hunkering down and coronavirus and work from home and living through disaster. I'm like, I did this already. This was 9/11 through and through, and this was 07, 08, 09 through and through. And so I felt compelled to do something about it. So I made a vow, and I didn't even want to bug my team because I didn't want to stress them with my craziness. So I literally dusted off a couple things, and I decided I was going to be generous. And for 2 straight weeks, I would donate live coaching for 2 weeks at 2:00 every day for 2 weeks, and just let people have a voice. Let them have questions, answers, show up as an expert, give them a place to have a sense of community and to think out loud about where they were stuck. Were they afraid? Did they need help? Did they need to find the words? Because perspective is really key. And I don't know if you know anyone who ever got married or went to a prom or any of those moments where there's a dress. The dress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're in the
absolutely.
place and there's the dress and you're on the pedestal and the mirror's there. Isn't there always somebody standing 20 feet behind you to tell you if your butt looks big in the dress?
Of course. It's my mother.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Somebody's job is to give you perspective because there's things about ourselves we can't see. And then when they're pointed out that way, you're like, oh, now I get it. And that's what happened to me with the branding transformation. And that has become my gift for other people. So I help others find out why they rock, why they shine, and how to shine a spotlight on their genius. Ta-da! Easy. I've been doing it all along. I just never put 2 and 2 together. 1 and 1 in my world now, 1 and 1 equals 11, not 2.
Interesting. Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
So having fun with it now because I've I've kind of, gotten in the groove, and it's great. So the rear view mirror is small and your windshield is big, but you still need both to connect the dots from where you were to where you want to be. And that's one of the things I love to do.
Yeah, and that's great about the, connecting the dots. You excuse me, you say there's, basically three ingredients to kind of leap your career
Hmm.
forward, right?
Hmm.
Mindset, skill set, and tool set.
Always.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk to me a little bit about the last two, the skill set and the tool set.
Sure. So the first part is simple. It's not simple, but foundationally, if you get in your car, you have to either plug something in the GPS or Waze, or you have two options. You're either sitting in the driveway or you're driving in circles. So first is getting clear on strength and on focus and what really matters, your non-negotiable priorities, because then you know what you want and you need, why you're here, what you want your legacy to be, how you plan to serve, where you can make an impact. So now, once you're clear on that, you need to go in and connect the dots from where you were. So part of it is creating an inventory of your wins, of your successes, measuring in quantifiable ways where you can. So here's a ninja tip. I mean, I built a whole entire proprietary career transformation system, but you can steal this idea and you can do it in the cheap if you wanted to. Take a Google Sheet or an Excel document or a sheet of paper, and down on the one side, start listing out your quantifiable wins. Think about across the top. Was it a leadership win? Did I save or earn or achieve money? Was it a team building win? Was it a process improvement win? Was it financial? What boxes does it check on those things across the one side? And when you need to create sales material as an entrepreneur, or if you were interviewing for a gig or a job, whatever, the same system works in any way you're trying to elevate and escalate your status as an expert in what you do. You can have this conversation. So I've had people that I've helped get jobs at Amazon, for example. Did you know that Amazon has 14 leadership principles? No, because
No,
you always got to do
no.
your homework, right? No, I never knew it
Yeah.
either, but they do. So you take my system, you run your wins down the side, and across the top, you plug in Amazon's 14 leadership principles. And if you make it past the first few phone interviews and Zoom interview, they fly you to Seattle, and you have a 6-hour, 6-person, one full grueling day interview. And a lot of my folks happen to be on the East Coast. I don't know why, they just are all over, but still flying cross country. They put them up in a hotel for a day or two so they can decompress before they get there. Then you go in on Monday morning and you've got 6 hours, which is grueling. It's like running a marathon.
Hmm.
But when you've got yourself organized, you can be nimble in how you storytell, because if they say, talk to me about a moment when you were bold or brave, like that's one of them. Talk about one when it was no surrender. Talk about one, like they throw out one of their principles and you'd have to on the fly tell a story for six
Wow.
hours. 6 different stories. No matter what they said, you had to come up with something different because they compare notes at the end. And so
Interesting.
just helping people inventory where they are and where they want to be. So sometimes people need to do things like my son had graduated college and was looking for a job, and he was looking for a little brush up, and we found on Huffington Post, stuff. They had an Adobe Creative Suite certification course for $39. So he got to go in and do a brush up on InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator. Really? I mean, it's a no-brainer to be able to now put credentials. So sometimes it's a matter of doing things to brush up on skills, to refresh your memory, to add something that's new to the suite of what you offer. So skill set is about connecting dots and inventory and lining up if you're looking for a job or filling a job description or a gig, anything that's posted. And I know you work with a lot of virtual assistants, so let's just say they're still aligning to a company's motto, their vision, their values, and what that person says they want or need. True?
Yeah, they better be, or they're not going to work for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they need to know how to, I call it parrot phrasing, not just paraphrasing, phrasing. I don't want you to sound a little bit like the gig. I want you to sound like it's your Cinderella moment and things literally mirror. You sound just like what they've asked for, if it's true. Don't lie, but if it's true, you need to even borrow their language. So that is skill set. And then tool set is where and how are you telling that story? So is it a resume or portfolio? Your LinkedIn profile should be singing the song, not of who you've been, but who you deserve to be. And the other thing, yeah, it's not a resume. It's not your online resume. You get the chance to write that story and articulate your value. You get that headline, the space under your picture, that's keyword searchable, that needs to say how people would search to find you.
Yeah,
so they look for virtual assistant, executive assistant. What are they looking for? Use the words they're going to search for, not whatever someone else called you, right? And then make sure your about or your summary, those 2,000 characters, sing a song. Again, totally stacked with the keywords around the things that are your best delivery. What are the things you do? How do you help people sleep well at night knowing you have their back? Who is your ideal client? What problem do they solve? Do you solve for them, I guess I should say, right?
Yeah.
And then underneath, reinforce it in the positions that you've had. So great real estate. LinkedIn Pro Finder is one of my favorite tools of all time because I literally am now to the point I get about 50, 60, 70 something leads a day. It started out one or two, a little over about a year, almost a year and a half ago. And it's funny because I was looking at my emails, my notes to people, because I've had relationships with people on LinkedIn a long time. And I remember saying, yeah, me and my team of, 5,000 followers on LinkedIn in like September of 2018. And I now have 15,000 followers.
Wow.
So I've tripled. Every 6 months, I incrementally, again, double. I've tripled, my audience, because every time someone comes in, I'm getting them to follow a link, join a free something, getting them on the list, giving them value, and then having them start following along. And people watch when you don't realize they're watching.
So
right?
If somebody listening to this wants to, look at what we're actually talking about, what's your LinkedIn profile? Where can they find you? As an example.
Well, it's linked. Here's the cadence for LinkedIn's websites. It's linkedin.com/in/Pat Roque. My name, Pat, Roque. So that, in fact, I can drop it in the chat if you would like me to. So that is, that's the way to get to my profile. But I also have a ProFinder cheat sheet. I don't know if that would be helpful to anybody who might want to have their services so that people could find you.
That'd be awesome. So I could put in the show notes and stuff for people. That'd be wonderful.
Oh yeah, and so here's what happens. There's no commission, and I do it all without ads. There's no ads. It's like Angie's List. It's free.
All organic. Nice.
Yeah, it's all organic. The only thing you have to do, two things. You have to have a premium account. So if you're not paying $60 on LinkedIn, you shouldn't be there, because that's really so much better on being searchable, being found, and finding other people. So that's kind of the cost of entry. But everybody I know is doing that anyway, right? That's kind of you don't even think about that because you have to, sort of. If that's the space you're in, you need to do that. And there's a lot of leads, so you need to have an organized system and process. And that is where, Michelle, we talked about where do VAs and such come in. Mm-hmm. So is that a good topic for you?
That's a wonderful topic for me, all about the systems and the processes. But can I back up for just a second before we go to that?
Yeah, of course you can. Yes.
So one of the things that I struggle with, I tend to be relatively type A and get to the point type deal. Talk to me a little bit more about parroting. If somebody's listening to this and they have trouble relating, talk to me about how you teach that skill set.
Okay, so let's put it in the context of LinkedIn and looking for a client, a gig, or a job. Those are kind of all synonymous. It's, I've got something you need. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you is that you deserve to position yourself as a solution for an ideal client, a real person. So I'm backing up even a step before paraphrasing, right? So I have in my mind my ideal client who is a middle-aged pharmaceutical executive, just because I've worked in that industry so long. They're successful, they're highly educated, they are well recognized, they're usually a director, VP, EVP, C-suite type person. They travel, they're married or divorced, they've usually got 2 kids, maybe in or out of college, give or take. They like golf, they drive a nice car, they are time crunched, they are sandwich generation, so they're dealing with decisions and caregiving for aging parents. They might have empty nest, and now in this environment, they're not even empty nest any longer. Everybody's back in the nest, dealing with all of that these days. And they want to do, they know that they deserve better, and they want to either move up or move over or move on to something different altogether. And I'm sorry, can you hear that?
A little bit, but it's okay.
I don't know. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
So knowing who your ideal client is, when you're about to engage, so let's say it's at a company, you need to know what problem you serve for them. And if you're looking at a job description or a request for support, they're going to be using language. It's going to talk about their style, their needs, because you're going to get paid for one of 2 reasons: pain or promise. I'm going to hire a new virtual team member or team leader or both because I'm growing so fast, I want to maximize the opportunity, or I'm short-staffed and there's a pain point and I need someone to come in and swoop in and fix. Right? Pain or promise? Because if I had everything, I knew what I wanted, I knew what I needed, and I knew how to do it, and I had the time to do it, why would I dig into my pocket and pay you? So, pain or promise? When I'm telling you the story, here's my company, here's our culture, here's the things that matter to us, and here's where we need help, I literally want you to give me back the words that I use in describing my pain. I want you to say, I solve this pain for this, and they both need to be the me and the description I've just used in my request for help. So when I'm writing my LinkedIn, I know exactly how to speak to my ideal client, because if I could take Karen, I would clone Karen. If I had a dozen or 100 Karens, my life would be easy peasy. Joy, joy, joy. Those are the kinds of clients that it's time for renewal, and they don't ask you how much of a discount they're going to get. They're like, do you want a check or a credit card? And what day was it due again? I'm going to just send it anyway. If I'm early, it's fine. Yeah, thank you. That's who you want. So you need to know who you want and what they need and what their pain point is. And I've hired a lot of virtual people, so I will tell you that it's a really interesting thing to find that right fit, because there are so many pieces of what a virtual team can do or what they can bring to the table. So I think if, as far as an individual, you're coaching both individuals and people who lead teams, both?
Yeah, small teams,
Okay.
usually 20 or less.
Okay, but that's still
20
great.
employees less. Yeah.
Because that gives me the need to not have to go out and hire all of them myself or look at all these individuals. I have a quarterback, and then that person deals with everybody. True?
Yep.
So as they're describing their solution, the way the team describes their solution should marry up to the language of how I've asked for help, how I've described my opportunity to you.
So how are you doing the research to find what your perfect avatar's language is? How are you finding that?
Okay, so there's a few ways to do it. Number one, look at your ideal clients and pay attention to how they thank you and when and why they thank you. Ask them. If someone asked you, what's the best thing I do for you, what would you say? You can ask them. I'm getting ready to redo my website. I'm looking for some copy. Would you do that? More importantly, as you go through life, when someone says, Michelle, you're awesome because da da da, listen. Whatever they said, you say, thank you very much. Can I ask you a favor? Would you mind letting me send you a request? Can we drop that in a note on LinkedIn? Because if you had that need, I'm sure other people would have that need. And I'd love to be able to make it easy, because you don't necessarily want to have to get field phone calls for recommendations. But if you write a quick recommendation based on blah, 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 and then you tell her what you're trying to accomplish, or him what you're trying to accomplish, like put it in context, or feed them back the words they just used. They said you were this, this, this. Here's why I hired Michelle. Before we started working, I was this. We did this, and my change was this. Now I feel this. We accomplished X. And then put them in that sheet I told you about before so you don't lose track. And make it easy for them to put it in writing. So if somebody says something, I'll recap what they said. And in LinkedIn, there's a spot where you can ask for a recommendation, and I'll actually drop the note and say, I'm looking to grow my client roster of X. Here's some of the things they're asking for, but would you mind putting this note? And then what happens is, I have 70 something recommendations on my LinkedIn. So, because every time somebody says, oh, we love you, you just did that, I say, great. Would you mind taking 2 seconds? Can you drop it in there? Because over time, it seems like a little thing to say, but over time, I've got 30 years of background. It's only over 2 a year. But you see what I'm saying, over cumulative time. So if somebody wants to know what it's like to coach with me or to hire me as a speaker, you can go back in and look. And by the time you read the first 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 dozen recommendations, you're going to see patterns of how you will feel. And I promise you give that same glowing feeling to people. They trust you. You have their back. You deliver X, all the things that they thank you for. I promise that's how you show up in the world. It's probably not an accident that you're amazing and you just did this for someone, because that's your pattern. We all work in patterns and people don't pay enough attention. I do. That's why I create systems and courses and all that, because I see the patterns, because I want success to be duplicable. It needs to be repeatable.
Yep.
Right?
And that's, yeah. And I mean, I know I did the same thing with, I did my MBA online too. And if you could put your MBA basically in a box, it's how do you look at the world in systems?
Right.
Right. And how do you duplicate the system and make the system more efficient? I mean, and so for you to be able to put that into like a book and be able to make it tangible for people versus, it takes me 2.5 years to go through all these courses and get a nugget here and a nugget here and a nugget here. That's just freaking golden.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny you just said that, Michelle, because I just met with my virtual team like an hour ago, and we were talking, and I said to them, you know the difference between when we were going to offer Rock Your Career Reboot as a course, my 9 modules, all my best teaching, as an academy, as a course with all the modules. And now the new program is really like an MBA for your career path. It is literally everything the way I did. And I just had, it's so funny you just said that, because I just had that conversation. I said, as a matter of fact, I think maybe we should offer a certificate at the end, because the rigor of what you need to do and the retrospective and the work that will go in, not that it should sound overwhelming, but it's comprehensive enough. And that's why I'm following the 90-day success plan with 10 live sessions in between that will be done as a cohort. It basically follows what Julie did and what the Speak to Scale, the course I did before, my speaking training before. Both of the last 2 most amazing things I've done, both follow the exact same course approach, not just the content, but having these live cohorts and then live Q&A. And so I feel like if it worked for me as a student twice, There you go. So it is very akin to the way I approached my online MBA in organizational leadership and learn things like what's the difference between charisma and other forms of leadership. Like Hitler was a leader, but so was MLK, right?
Yep.
Why do people follow who they follow and how and
Both
what are the
charismatic,
traits?
both really good speakers, one for good, one for evil. But
Right?
th- but they're
But
but they're very identical. They're as far as
parallels, right? A lot of
yeah,
parallels.
right, lots. Yeah, in
So,
fact,
yeah,
no, I was just gonna parrot off of that. Like, people, it's a couple generations removed now, so people are like, oh, Hitler was awful, but at the time when you lived in Germany, like if you didn't know what was gonna happen, right, and you just looked at Hitler as a leader, it's amazing how persuasive and how good he was at what he did.
he was
So
masterful at being a bastard. I mean, he really was,
yeah,
right?
yeah, he was. And I'm not advocating Hitler. I think he was like the world's most horrible person ever. But like
Yes.
but taking what, if you break down what he did into a system and then use that system for good instead of
Right.
evil, that's where
Exactly.
the golden nugget really, really lies.
So recognizing the patterns in that
Hmm.
is one of the things that I am instinctively good at. So taking the how to be and lead a virtual team, how to stay organized, how to follow a path, how to make success memorable and repeatable, like building a personal brand for people and helping them become memorable and repeatable so that someone else could say, oh, you definitely need, if you want to grow your business and your brand, you need to work with Michelle. If you want someone who's going to help you with your career and fast tracking your success or working remotely, you need to work with Pat because she rocks. And they will throw in the rock anecdotes. Everybody calls me that. Everyone knows it is just, it precedes me. So I live by it. My father's name was Rocky. My father-in-law's name was Rocky. My son's middle name is Rocky. My favorite movie of all time, Best Picture 1976, Rocky. I'm Italian. I love rock and marble and stone. And then this box of rocks shows up, and I marry a lovely guy from Havana, Cuba. My last name is Roque, which means what? Rock.
Rock.
So, yeah, you think it was destiny? Probably. But every
Yeah,
time I speak, I literally bring rocks. The rocks are centerpieces. We do exercises. People have me over and over and over and over, and they have collections of rocks at their desks, by their podium, at the front desk, greeting people. Konica Minolta, the front receptionist has a stack of rocks right at the front desk, all from events that we've done. And then when I walk in the door, they pick up their rocks or they take selfies of themselves and send them to me.
that's awesome.
It's
That's
really fun.
great.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so honoring why you rock. So for your virtual teams, honoring why they rock, not trying to be cookie cutter carbon of everyone else, but owning their gifts, owning their uniqueness, but coming at it not from a tactical, I do this, this, and that. Because there's a million people. You name a software or an app, right? There's volumes of people that can do just about anything. We're all in a highly competitive space. True?
Oh yeah.
But
But there are
you're
those of us that humanize it and make it do it
relatable.
well because, yeah, because like for instance, outsourcing is my thing, so let's talk about that. Everybody and their brother knows you can go to onlinejobs.ph and hire a virtual assistant. Big freaking deal, right? It's like the career builder, the monster of the job world in the Philippines, right? But what if you just do that, you're absolutely set up to fail because you don't have the system set in place, right? You don't have your back end. You have no idea how to train. You have no idea about the culture. You have no so it's all about not just knowing where to go, but what systems to put in place and how to use the systems, and
Exactly.
doing it in a way that is relatable, that everybody gets it, not just you got to break it down into its simplest of steps so that it's duplicatable, and easy for everybody to implement. So sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but
No, but you're absolutely right. And so that is the secret sauce, is having one, right? It's having the recipe, because I know what works. I've done this and helped thousands of other people for 32 years. I've been there and done that. So now when someone's facing a career pivot for the first time, maybe the second time, or even third, I still outnumber you 10 to 1 easily, right? So the point is fast tracking your success in whatever it is, whether it's the outsourcing or whether it's your personal branding and your career elevation, right? Because people want one of three things in my world. They want to move up and get recognized, accolades, promotion, raise, board seat where they are. They want to move over because they know they're good at what they do, but they can't do it where they were any longer. So they're going to move over, similar but different place, right? Or they want to move on to something different altogether. But they hear that loud cry. I always say it's like, first you feel like you got that little tingle in your gut, right? Or God taps, or however you hear or see the voice inside your head. And I always say it's like when Jeannie pops out of the bottle, you can't shove her back inside. It's like this little voice, it gets louder, louder, louder. And after a while, it's like deafening screaming in your ears.
Yep.
And you can't silence that.
You've opened Pandora's box, but it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Well, it's a good thing if you decide to take action and do something with it, right? It's a bad thing if you sit there and let it eat away at you, and all you do is second guess yourself and then sit on your hands because you don't know what to do. So inertia is not our friend. Inaction is not our friend. And with this whole pandemic and people are going to be watching this in posterity, so it's not just going to air in the spring of 2020. This will air again. They can come back to look at this, and hopefully very soon after it will be an afterthought, and this will sound like old history already, I'm hoping. But one of the things we thought about is, do we change our course? Do we change our program? And why? And I thought, you know what? My secret sauce is my secret sauce, and it's going to help people no matter if there's a pandemic or it was great before and it's even better now. But we do have to change our sensitivity to how we describe people's pain, because you want to be really acutely sensitive to how they're feeling and not play on people's travesty. Like, it's not about that. It's not being opportunistic in the ickiest, ugliest of ways, but it is about helping people figure out, if you're a virtual leader or team member, you should right now be more valuable than ever, whether it's helping people learn how to be better at being remote, whether it's helping them do things because they might not be able to get to everybody on their team, or they may have had to let go some of their permanent full-time colleagues. So it's a great time to be of service. And what Julie says is, the world needs your gifts, and it's our obligation to answer that call. So sitting on your hands or postponing launches or not showing up does not help. Are you prying and trying to, sell like the idiot on, I saw a social post, and this jerk grabbed like 17,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. He basically tried to wipe out the market. And now he's trying to, loan shark hand sanitizer, let's just say, for lack of a better word, right? That is evil, and he'll burn in hell for that. Like, it's just not good in any way, shape, or form. I'm not talking about that, but I am talking about serving with integrity and showing up and being sensitive.
Let's talk about that, right? Because there's a lot of, maybe small business owners who all of a sudden now have to be virtual, right? And before they weren't, but they have no idea, what systems or tools to set up to be able to even continue their business in a virtual realm. You've done it since 1988. Let us behind the scenes. What systems do you have in place? How do you keep in touch with your VAs? How do you make sure that you're getting good quality work and it's still top notch and your employees are motivated? How have you accomplished that and perfected that since 1988?
Well, so part of it's, trial and error. I've tried a lot of things and I've learned the hard way sometimes. And that's why you come in, because people don't have to when they've got you around, right? Which is great. But part of it is just, first of all, acknowledging your strengths and your weaknesses, and knowing where that's going to come into play is really, truly kind of a raw self-audit first, and how you show up, paying attention to the things that have worked in the past. We always are using digital, so, Google Drive and G Suite, for example, so there's shared things. I do a lot of working with people. When I'm doing the LinkedIn profile, one of the things, and I have no idea why I'm good at it at all, but we do a first coaching session and do your audit and understand your strengths and understand your non-negotiable priorities. You do your career soul searching. And I do this coaching session with you. Send me your stuff. We both have homework. We get together, and I literally will magically craft your LinkedIn profile right before your very eyes, live in real time. I have no idea why I'm good at that, but I am. So you and I are looking at a Google document, and it is coming to life right in front of you. So it's really cool when you can be in the same place at the same time and have version control. So those kinds of things are super important. Streamlining as much as you can is important. I even sometimes have made the mistake of trying to whittle down and use fewer tools, because it always sounds like a great idea. But like Julie said in one of our sessions, you get what you pay for. So you need to pay close attention to the fact of how robust your tools need to be. So I'm a pretty sophisticated follow-up person. I speak, I have leads, I'm online, I have leads, and I like to know who's engaged, who's not engaged, and what level of conversation are we speaking about, what might be the right thing to send and recommend to them, how do I engage if they say yes, how do I engage if they say no. So I have a very complex communication cadence.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure I found people who find joy. For example, I've got a copywriter and email person who loves untangling the web of all the different messaging, because I used to do, here's my program, here's my communication strategy and my emails around that, and then that was there, and then the next one was here, but nothing was really woven together like a fabric of beautiful success. And so I found someone whose joy is doing that. I would rip the hair out of my head. It's not my strength, but it's hers. Then someone else who loves helping with follow-up in certain aspects and booking on podcasts or things like that. So somebody who's really good at what they do, let them shine in their genius. And I have asked my team at different times, do you want to step up and be a leader and really become my quarterback right arm and help herd the cats? And quite frankly, one of the bigger challenges these days is people want to be individual contributors. They want to put their head down. They want to work in their own little cocoon. And they don't necessarily want to all have to communicate. A lot of VAs don't want to talk. A lot of them don't talk at all. They just want to email. They don't want to have meetings. So it's interesting because I like the meetings because I like to feel like I'm with my team and I like to have a relationship with them. So my style is we meet every week. I don't care because I want to know how you are as a human. I want to know, like my one team member's brother is has a form of cancer, a young boy, and he's so sweet. And so I'm like, tell me all about him. What does he love? And he loves Hot Wheels. Well, guess who sent him a shit ton of Hot Wheels and all the things I could come up with just to like light him up. Why not? It was so much fun, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to make a donation to somewhere or something, I want to light them up like the 4th of July. And so Hot Wheels it was.
Like you said about the relationships, the pushback with the video, if I normalize it in the very beginning for them, I get almost no pushback, because I let them know, hey, I'm a normal human being just like you're a normal human being, and like we don't have to be perfect. A lot of times they're like nervous or embarrassed that you're gonna be upset or something, but as long as you like normalize it and tell them, hey, I want to get to know you, right? We're a team. Like it's they go from like absolutely dreading it and hesitating to it's fun for them because now it's become a team relational thing. So are you using Zoom? Are you keep communicating on Slack? Yep, I can talk.
Yes, Slack. Yes, Zoom. And then there's the old Airtable versus Trello versus Asana versus Basecamp versus Monday versus.
Right. Pick your
Wait,
poison.
I always say I'm a tech whore. It's bad. So I'll try everything and anything because I want the easiest thing. So sometimes that is a bad thing. So what I just did recently was, okay, we brought on somebody on board, and I said, and two of my people have worked together before for a number of years. So they are already simpatico, and they already both communicate together on Asana.
Okay.
And I said, I don't love any of them. They all make my hair stand on end at a certain point because I have an ADD, and inevitably I need something that I can go in and look and know what I need to do or what I need to help you do and then get out.
Yeah, and that's kind of why Trello drives me crazy because there's like all these tiles everywhere, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. For me, Basecamp makes sense, but it's different personalities, different styles, But you're right,
Right.
none of them are perfect.
No. So I finally, this time around, I acquiesced and said, okay, you guys figure it out. Whatever you agree on, I will be willing to follow. And then this way, if I've got half my team already in love with the system, it'll be so much easier for them to now include me
Mm-hmm.
and our other team members. So we're really kind of a core of 4 that work together on a weekly basis, every week, all the time. And then I've got some other people that I can pull in, like my art and design person is in the UK, and I don't need her all the time. She's awesome. She helps with my branding. I love her, but it's not an every week kind of a thing. So she doesn't get pulled in, to the thick of it, but we think about her, we know she's there, and it's awesome. So yeah, I defer because I hate them all.
Yeah.
Hate them all.
So Google Docs, Google Drive, Google One,
Yes.
right? Everything's pretty much there. In fact, I use that instead of Dropbox. I know a lot of people use Dropbox, but for me, Drive is just so much easier and it integrates with everything. So I'm totally with you on that. I use LastPass, right,
Right.
for all my keep everything nice and secure. Zoom, obviously, right? We're talking on Zoom right
Zapier,
now. Zapier, amazing, right?
Stripe,
Stripe.
ClickFunnels.
I don't use ClickFunnels. I'm not a ClickFunnels fan, to be honest.
I keep trying not to. This is my 4th time using it, and I'm finally making good money with it. It took me 4 times. 4 times is the charmer. I'm a quick learner like that. But I finally am working around people that know how to help me do it in a way how do I say this? One of the things in hiring other people to be aware of, and I learned this the hard way, is that a lot of people are good talkers and they're good at a piece of it, good enough to get you to buy, but they don't actually know enough to pull it all the way through.
Yep.
And I think ClickFunnels is one of those softwares, because of the price point, people want the affiliate commission.
Yeah,
So
see, that for me is like, no,
they created an entire monster tribe of tens of thousands.
That's it. It's a tribe. It's a tribe. It's a software tribe.
And then the experts were out pitching their stuff, and yet I had 3 of them who all sucked once we hit a certain point. And I got frustrated, and I kept starting it and stopping it and starting it and stopping it. And right now what happens is I realize I'm in another system, and it doesn't have the sexy ability to do the upsell and the downsell and some of those extra things to be able to pick up some extra cash quick. So that is what's not, that's to me one of their big advantages. Their email stinks.
Oh yeah, Actionetics is a disaster. But you're right. It's nice for the drag and drop to be able to add in the OTOs and things like that. But personally, I build it out in WordPress because then I can do whatever I want with it, and I don't have to link into their system. But what do you do for tracking hours? Like I use Hubstaff, for instance.
I don't.
You don't track hours?
For me, no.
How do you?
I don't have to track my own
payroll?
hours. They have to submit their own. So everybody's got their own. My people have their own. I don't have one system. I know that maybe isn't the best answer, but that's the true answer. So they're not all from one location. I did this the hard way and piecemealed my people together. So the downside to not having met you back when I wish I did, is that I cobbled together a team, and I learned the hard way, because in that mix were a couple of people. One was supposed to be an OBM who basically was a ghost and was supposed to set up. Dubsato's another one. I have it, but the ghost was supposed to have set it up and never did. And then her VA who came on the team was supposed to set it up, and she never did. So I still have something that I've been paying for since July that still doesn't run well, but everybody swears if you get it going, you need to get it going. It's worth getting it going because it'll do your payments. You'll never have a charge back. Like, it's so much better.
With Dubsato?
Yeah, for high ticket.
For high ticket stuff. Yeah, honestly, I haven't messed with Dubsado at all. I know one day I'm gonna have to get there, but I haven't.
I guess it depends on what you're selling, but the more, the higher ticket stuff needs a contract, needs to have it signed. They have different terms or different payment terms or payment plans and all those things. And so you want to make sure that they know that this is a one-time payment, or this is a quarterly payment of X. 4 times a year, and it'll auto renew, et cetera, or whatever the terms happen to be. So when you have more simple, basic contracts, or not even contracts, you can put your terms and they're purchasing one thing and it's X amount and it's clean and easy like that, it seems to be less important. But sometimes with my mastermind and my VIP clients and some of the, the higher ticket things that I do, if someone's spending $10,000 on a program, they want to see a contract. They want to see who I'm about. They want to be able to check. And everything's, I've been doing this a really long time, so it's all cool, but
yeah,
you want to be transparent up front to avoid questions and comments and chargebacks or things later.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not take your money up front, and I always go into every relationship saying this is the beginning of our 10-year renewal. Like, my goal is to have you be a 10-year renewal and a 25 years laugh, or friendships or collaborative friendships and all those things. Like, I'm a long-term player. That's how I view the world. And so relationships matter a lot more than money. And maybe I'm naive, some people might think, but that's just the way I come at it. And so I believe all ships rise with the tide. I believe there's plenty of money to go around. I believe that doing the right thing is always the right thing. I believe that transparency and authenticity rule. I believe that I'm going to under promise and over deliver. And if I don't know something, I'm going to make sure that I've got brilliant people around me so that I can efficiently continue to feed you the right information that's going to keep you safe and smart and successful. It doesn't have to be my genius in my head, but I've got a huge support network of all kinds of amazing, wonderful people. So I don't get boxed into corner. My husband is a CPA, CFO, consultant, a genius. He's wonderful. And we did our master's thesis together, interestingly enough. And so our biggest problem was we only bought one set of books, because I thought, oh, it's an online thing. We don't need books, except we did. And our kids went to bed at 9 o'clock at night. We'd both be diving for the books because we actually needed them back then in 2000, So, but I never knew he was such a good storyteller and such a great writer. Like, I got to see a whole different side of his work product. Because how do you know what your friends or your spouse or your family members do? You don't see that.
Yeah.
So got a new appreciation, and I'm a big collaborator. I love finding smart people and finding how to connect smart people with other people who need them, and vice versa.
So I know we're right at about an hour. Do you have another 10 minutes? Can I ask just, 1 or 2 more questions?
Sure.
Awesome. So when you're looking for that perfect culture fit, right? Because I know when I hire an employee for my company, I want them to be a good culture fit. How are you interviewing for a virtual job? What questions are you asking? What testing are you putting them through? What does that look like for you and your process?
Depending on what it is. So I'll tell you one that I haven't solved yet, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to solve it or not. I was trying to hire, I had a lot of, on my LinkedIn, I was getting a lot of people coming in looking for resumes. And I kept trying to hire someone to be a resume writer and a LinkedIn profile writer. And what I kept finding was there's such a two things were happening. On the one side, in the marketplace, there's such a gluttony of cheapo resume mills where people are going to go put $100 to get their resume redone. And then they bitch and complain. They come to me after because they're like, oh, I did my resume and I didn't get a new job. Yeah, because that's not how you get a job. The resume is the last piece. So I was having, on one hand, a conflict of heart because I'm thinking, I don't want to take their money and lead them down the wrong path. But on the other side, it's like the point of entry. So this is where I'm always conflicted with Julie's stuff. Do I play in that arena? Like, why would somebody that wants to make $350,000 want to hire a resume writer for $100? What's wrong there? Is there some incongruent values there? Do you see where I'm going?
Yep.
But I would try people, and so I did find a lot of challenge with the culture or the language because people were not understanding in a lot of instances so far how to gauge what an executive, what that level really looks and sounds like, the U.S. language, the terms we use for it, the titles and the terms for someone who is probably advanced degree, etc. You know, the 200, 250,000 and up type of person. What do they look like? What do they sound like? Or I was getting people who the service was great and the eagerness was great and they were obviously educated, well educated, but they kept trying to sound so smart. So I was getting back resumes that had so many big words packed in, it sounded nothing like a human would speak at all.
Yeah.
It sounded like someone who was trying to impress someone else, not someone who would articulate with integrity and, you know, like just not someone you'd actually ever have a beer with.
Just a thought. Have you ever considered shooting a video showing the VA exactly how you would write the resume and the LinkedIn profile, and these are the reasons that you pick this word?
I did, but it got exhausting and I just got tired and I decided that if
you do it once, then you never have to do it again.
Except I still never found someone who could actually pull it off. And then I would get the stuff back and then I would end up having to spend way too much time.
Yeah, you should have just done
my
it on
own
your
time
because you don't have to rip it apart.
Well, so I have a client who I have him in the pharmaceutical industry, and I end up getting him in front of the number 3 person globally at one of the big pharma companies. And we're talking strategy and how to navigate. So I could be having that conversation and I'm really comfortable there, or I could be sitting there spending all this time trying to beg someone to be a better resume writer. It's exhausting. Like, it's not my zone.
Right.
So I kind of pulled out a little bit and figured, let me just figure out what to do. And I kept leaving those people. And then I started feeling bad about leaving those people without help. And that was a little bit of why what just happened with the whole gifting, the 2 weeks of open mic. It's like an open mic call, right? Whoever has questions can come on. Because anybody that's been coming to me and looking for help, even if they didn't buy a single thing ever, they're still welcome to show up and have me help them. And so today was a nice little, it was a smaller crowd, but it was doable. So I kind of hot seated a few of the people and I helped them live in front of everyone. It was great. So people who really want help and are open to thinking about it differently, I can help them. People who are going to sit and say, why is my resume not getting me a job? If I have to explain that 100 times, I'm not banging my head against the wall. So they're going to go to one of the mills. They're going to get something. They're going to spend 6 months sending 400. Some of these people send 2 and 3 and 4 and 500 resumes. Do you know how much energy, even if they came to me, right? And we charged X for it. And we had to have my team manage that process. Do you know how exhausting that feels compared to if I had 1/10 of those people and we had the right people and we were coaching them to actually elevate their
solid
career?
What the fit for them, as opposed to just throw spaghetti against a wall and hope something sticks.
Well, it's like, is Wolfgang Puck worried about the window at McDonald's? It's still meat, sort of, maybe at McDonald's, I don't know, but it's it's a meal. It's beef, maybe. But is he bothering with the people who are looking for the dollar value meal? No. And are they out there in droves? Yes. But the way McDonald's goes about servicing those people is very different than the more exclusive approach that a Wolfgang Puck is going to be. So I kind of like to think of myself more of the Wolfgang Puck of the career world, if you will, in that it's really strategy. It's people navigation. It's like my client, she's been my client. She's on her third career pivot with me in 14 years, 3. Which is fabulous, right? And so she's messaging me, do I do this? Do I do that? She's got VIP concierge service. I love. It's like a cat and mouse game. It's so much fun. And she's doing great. So I for your team and your people that are listening, you need to spend your time on things that matter and things you're good at and know what your zone is. Stay in your lane. Don't try to
for
be
everything
all
else.
the things.
Yeah. Don't
Right?
be doing all the tasks you don't need to do.
A good executive assistant that's going to be more the right hand and make sure someone's life runs well is a different person than somebody who is a Microsoft Word page layout or somebody who's doing graphics in Canva or Adobe. Like, they're all very different. They're all VAs, EAs,
All
but they're
totally
very different. Or the one who wants to be the quarterback of the team versus the one who wants to sit, like one of my best people. She's got an 18-month-old baby. She does not want to have to be live on camera all the time and in front of people. She doesn't want to talk to my clients ever. She's got a baby, so she loves doing what she does, but he's in her lap, so which is great. That's why you do it. So that's the joy of it. So just stay in your lane, know your gifts, know your strengths, stay in your lane, build a personal brand, understand why you rock, understand that there is definitely people out there on the other side aching for exactly what you have, and then connect the dots to figure that out. That's it. That's the secret sauce.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Pat, this has been amazing. You've given us so much value. I seriously appreciate the time. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you and they're like, hey, I need to hire Pat, how do they do that?
So the fastest route is probably to go to rockonsuccess.com/apply. And it's rock, R-O-C-K on success, SUCCESS.com/apply. That's going to fast track you in where I'm going to ask you some questions just to kind of understand where you're at, what you're thinking, what you think you want or need. You're kind of just 5 or 6 questions, but it's going to help me understand a little bit about the goals and what's on your mind. And it'll put you into my calendar, and then it comes to me and I get to look, because if I'm going to talk to someone, I want to make sure I'm going to actually send you information in advance of our call so you're in the right direction and you're aligned with my whole mojo and value system and the way I'm going to approach helping you solve your problem. Because if it feels icky or wrong, don't waste your time with me. I want you to find value in every conversation we have. I always say an hour with me will change your life forever. So that is if folks are thinking that they're ready for that. If you would like, I would be certainly more than happy to give you, for example, I've got a link for, and I'll send it to you if you want. If people want to go in and get my planner, they can go in and get the free planner, just pay for the shipping, and I think I sent 2 if I'm not mistaken. So if they want to do something like that, we can do that, and more than happy to do it. Or I can offer you the ProFinder cheat sheet, which is the tool I've created to help people earn more money on LinkedIn, which is great.
Yeah,
People.
those are amazing resources. We'll take all the resources you're willing to give us.
Oh, there you go. See that? Yeah. I do, the fun thing that I'm doing is I have a cohort group. It'll be launching April 1st and again at the end of that quarter, so right after 4th of July. But it's really about having the mindset, skill set, tool set, all the content, all the tools. And if they want to come in the middle of it, what I did was I opened the doors and let them go into the content, but then the live coaching cohort starts, because I want you to have support. I want you to have a team around you, just like we're doing how you and I became friends through Julie's class. I think it's a great model. So I will have something else, but the doors will open and close. So there'll be one coming up right after, right around the end of June, beginning 4th of July. each quarter to be able to help people move forward. But we do other things. It's not about trying to sell you guys anything. I just really want you to know that you've got a resource who's been there and done that, who's hired a zillion people just like you. So when I coach people like that, it's both from experience of being the buying customer, right? Because it's hard to get out of our own head. What did I say about perspective before, right? You got to get out of your own head and see it from the other side. And that's a hard thing to do. So that's
have to look at it through your mom's eyes.
My mother is 88 years old and she's on Facebook every day.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
For Lent, she gives up commenting on Facebook. Not that she doesn't look on Facebook. She goes on Facebook and then she texts me and my sister and my brother all her thoughts because she can't comment because she gave it up for Lent. It's so funny.
That's hilarious.
So funny. Imagine. So yeah, I'll be a scary old broad someday too, I hope. But
well, now, I just by saying that, my mom's the one that's going to be bluntly honest with me and point out the thing that should be painfully obvious to me, but I can't see it because I'm right in the middle of it. It's kind of
Well, we all need those people in our lives, so that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Be grateful you have them, right?
So if you guys are listening to this and you need that steering and that guiding, Pat is the one. So thank you so very much for your time. And any last parting comments?
I appreciate you, Michelle. I appreciate all you're doing. I'm proud of you being a survival MF. You are just, right? Like cats with 9 lives. We're not going to get knocked down. We're going to just get up and we're going to just keep going. And so you knew that no matter, had a stroke and survived that, and you're here serving the world. So kudos to you, man. Props, because that's what it's about. It's about not giving up, and it's about not waiting for perfection. It's about embracing imperfect starts and just helping people one step better every single day. And that's really the vibe. If we can just all try to do that for ourselves and to help somebody else with that, whatever our spin on it or a gift around that is, but one step, 1% better, what can I do today to bless someone else so that when I put my head on the pillow, when they put their head on the pillow, it was a good day. If you can do that every day, one inch, one step at a time, just keep on keeping on, man, because every day is a gift. So that is my real message. It's got nothing to do with work. Well, maybe it does. It's really about being grateful. That's the message. If you start and end every day with gratitude and take inventory for your gifts and realize, the glass is not only half full or half empty, but be grateful every day for the glass, you're good. You're good to go.
Absolutely. And keep in mind that micro steps every day turn into huge journeys when you just consistently do a little bit every day. If we, like you said, if we get 1% better every day, that turns into huge strides. You'll look back 6 months and won't recognize yourself. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Automate to Dominate podcast at www.awesomeoutsourcing.com/podcast. My name is Michelle Thompson.